run it back or trade whoever, which one. The only one that you can trade is Devin Booker.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of the Bright Now podcast. We're recording this on Tuesday, April 30th, 6 o'clock Eastern Time. My name is Dash, and I am the Cam Johnson to my Mikal Bridges. I have to give them a shout out because I miss them so much, TJ. But Mikal Bridges is TJ. Good to talk to you, man. I'm so happy it's all over, to be honest with you. What are we yapping about today? We got a good episode on our hands, right?
You know what they say: smile because it's over and cry because it happened. That's pretty much the tone of today's podcast. We are breaking down the last, obviously, the recent 4 games taken down against the Minnesota Timberwolves. But then we're going to have to trace our roots and really just ask, how the hell did we get here, and where do the Phoenix Suns go from here now that they are no longer competing in the 2024 season? So we all know that we said before when we were predicting the series, we were very high on the Suns. Like, we're supposed to be, obviously. Like, what else are we doing this for? But we had said if the Timberwolves beat us, it is most likely going to be because of an Anthony Edwards coming out party. And to start things on a positive note, not a Suns positive, but Anthony Edwards was actually legitimately amazing in this series and was everything that you wanted to see. His game 2 was a little bit slower, but it also seemed like he wasn't just getting himself as involved. But then, doing the at midcourt, staring at everybody, him and going back and forth with KD and hitting all the biggest shots, scoring 40 points in the closeout game, 31 of them in the second half. Like, that's exactly what you want from a guy like this, and he's still only 22. And he probably secured his starting position on the USA squad this summer, right?
He also secured his position as the best shooting guard in the league, I think, and I'm not overreacting there. I think that the 22-year-old has absolutely taken over. TJ, I'm glad you started off on this note because as a basketball fan, I think both of us are very happy that, it sucks that it happened to our team, but we didn't really have a ton of faith in this team winning the championship at the end of the day. And, as much as the homers as we want to be, we are realists at the end of the day. And, I know the Suns played like ass, man, but the Timberwolves do deserve credit where credit's due. I mean, they played a hell of a series, exploited all of our weaknesses right out the gate. I mean, I was really impressed. I know we're sticking with Anthony Edwards here, but the Timberwolves as a whole, the ball pressure all the way up the court was so smart. It caused so much frustration and got all of our guys flustered since, I'm sure we'll bring it up once or twice later on, but we don't have a fucking designated ball handler / point guard. And like you said, Anthony Edwards is a modern-day Michael Jordan. I don't think I'm being dramatic in saying that. Like, I genuinely think that he's going to be one of them ones at the end of the day. Like, this guy is an absolute killer. He plays defense. There's multiple possessions where I thought, like, I'm watching the game and I'm like, oh, man, like, what an awesome play right here. Who was that? It was Ant. Ant came to, Devin Booker down the lane coming for a Ant with the block. Wow. Okay, cool. So just seeing both ends of the ball. I know this is your guy, so I'll give you the floor here. What are the things were you impressed with?
The number one, besides all the on-court basketball stuff you just laid out about how amazing he is to watch and just how, like, exhilarating it is when you see him get ready to take off, it's really his leadership that is by far the most impressive thing. The way he is actually the captain of that Timberwolves squad as the youngest guy and leading with his voice too. Like, he's getting in people's ears and uplifting his teammates and also, like, keeping guys on track. Like, all the stuff with Karl Anthony Towns is fantastic. Their post-game press conferences together where he's saying, like, hey, I told him, hey, stop fucking fouling. He's like, if you don't fucking foul, we will win this we'll win this series. Just don't fucking foul anymore. And it's those things where he's just... And it goes back, I mentioned the story from his rookie year where Cat got into a scuffle and he shuts those questions down. He's like, no, we're not talking about that. Carl doesn't want to talk about that. We're not doing it. And you just clearly see it. The guys on his team love him. Like, he has made Rudy Gobert not an unbearable person on a basketball team anymore. So it's the leadership. It's the defense, of course, guarding all 3 of our guys at various points throughout the entire series and doing an incredible job.
I was getting KD on that one play.
And exactly, and coming at him strong too, barking at him, I feel like he got our guys in a bit of a dick swinging contest, trying to just, and that was our Achilles heel, was that we would just resort to hero ball anyway, and that just baits you into it more and more. And we fell right into their hands in most of these cases. from a team standpoint, we thought that we were a good matchup for them, but clearly their size was a major factor. And just our guys not necessarily showing up. I know Booker scores the 49 in the last game, but I don't know about you. I can't turn around. I can't come on the microphone and say Joel Embiid's 50 points is fake because of his 20 free throws and then not have the same criticism of Booker's. When the points go on the board all the same, but you and I both know it's not the same.
Yeah, I totally understand. And, I mean, let's just dive right into it. I mean, Devin Booker as a whole in this series, I'm not going to be one of those guys that's going to be like, oh, Devin Booker is a playoff choker. I mean, me and you have been tapped into every single playoff game that the Suns have had since 2020.
That is not his
since
narrative.
We've been in there.
That is not his narrative.
No, it's not his narrative whatsoever. I mean, we've seen him drop 40 balls twice in the NBA Finals. This was just a rough-ass series, and it's kind of confusing because maybe it is a dysfunction as a whole. Maybe it's the team structure, but why did it take so long for that Game 4 performance from D-Book? I mean, I understand Rudy Gobert was suffering from foul trouble. That definitely opens up the rim a lot more, but I mean, I feel like I saw a lot of shots throughout these series where he's just straight up not taking them, or he's just missing some of these jumpers that we're used to seeing him. A lot of these very tough shots. I mean, tough shot taker, tough shot maker, but they weren't falling in this series. Did you feel it was just because of Minnesota's defense as a whole? I mean, being top 3 defensively all year. You talked about the length a little bit, or do you think it was like more of the Suns system, or a good combination of both?
Absolutely a combination of the two. Like, it's just going to be harder to hit those same tough shots when you have Jaden McDaniels or Anthony Edwards guarding you versus pretty much any other team in the league. Like, these are just the two worst wings to go up against us, and which is something we probably should have seen from the get-go in terms of breaking down the matchups of everything. When you live by the mid-range, you're going to die by the mid-range. If you're not hitting those shots consistently, the numbers are just not in your favor. And clearly, the quote comes out before Game 4 that Frank Vogel wants them to shoot 43s, and we put up 27. So clearly there's a disconnect.
Can I talk to you right here? So let's go on a little bit of an overview right here. I'm glad you brought that point up because this is a very big point. So looking at the series as a whole, TJ, we lost the series by 60 points. I mean, altogether, you combine all the scores. We got smacked, so 60 points. We had 5 more total turnovers than them. Probably something we would have been happy about going into this. But to your point, we shot 30 less threes than them. Just completely taken out of those games. I never truly felt like we were going to like keep a lead or come back from a lead the entire time we played in these games. Maybe once in that Game 2 where Ant was a little shaky. But I mean, towards that fourth quarter, I mean, you saw absolutely it just came through and made shit happen. It's just so lackadaisical. Like you said, or we're just not following. I mean, we saw Vogel lose the locker room, which we'll talk about towards the end. But what's going on? I mean, we can say all the right shit, but we don't do any of it. I mean, throughout the series, we can talk about Bradley Beal. He put on a hell of a bitching performance. I mean, just an absolute masterclass.
Stomping his feet, yelling profanities, bumping off his coach's hand. Like, that's just something you don't do, man. I hate to be that guy, but like, be a good example. We already have enough problems in youth AAU basketball as it is, with all the fucking gear and the fucking highlight tapes and all the too littles. Like, set a decent example at some point in your life. It's incredibly frustrating. You go down the plus minuses for the series. Booker's minus 11, KD's minus 17, Beal's minus 12, Nurk minus 10. And guess who, of guys that got consistent minutes throughout the series? Drew Eubanks was only a minus 4. By far our best, and he sits in Game 4. So this feels like
not gonna be on the team next year either.
This feels like the perfect time to switch into Frank Vogel, just fully, and talk about what his future with the team is. I don't know if you're ready for this yet.
I want to stick on Bradley Beal for a second because that was a criminal act that we saw in that Game 4.
That was
50 plus million until 2027. Mm-hmm. Let's keep that in mind as I talk about this, especially after such a fraudulent performance here in the playoffs. TJ, let me tell you what
I'll be damned. I'll be damned.
Yeah, I'll be damned and laughing about it. It's pretty much every statistic went down. Let me read them out to you. Points down 2 a game compared to the regular season. Field goal percentage down 7%. Rebounds down 1.5. Assists down half. Turnovers up 1. Fouls up 1.5. Super cool stuff. No trade clause. Super cool. Awesome. I'm so happy that he was smiling and joking after getting swept like a fucking goober, bro. That shit was atrocious.
I mean, we quite frankly win this game if he doesn't score 9 points. if he scores more than 9 points, we win this game. Probably if Drew Eubanks plays, we might actually have a chance of winning. I'm not saying we would have won the series, and honestly, I am glad that it's just cut our heads off. Just don't play around with us. I didn't want to get this dragged into a 7-game series mess where we just get blown out in Game 7 like against Dallas, because that's what this team would have showed up.
Yes.
We talk about every game. It felt like, okay, starting Game 4, Game 3. We're like, we need to come out strong because we haven't. We've set that tone that we don't come out strong to start. And each time we just continue to be let down by the same factors. It's just the same constant issues. And the best part about the Bradley Beal situation, we can't do anything with him. He is just going to be a phoenix. He's going to ride out this contract.
Why would he not? He's making so much money. I mean, I don't doubt him. That's our dumbass fault, and we'll get to that later on. It's getting me fired up. Let me calm down for a second. I mean, it's just like you said. I think this is not going to make me feel any better. But let's talk about Vogel a little bit, because we will talk about Bradley Beal and his impact throughout the whole season as a whole. But with Frank Vogel, I mean, man, some of the quotes that are coming out and stuff. Are you feeling a little more empathetic? Or are you still feeling like pretty like, damn, what the fuck are you doing out there, bro? What are your thoughts there?
I think it's I don't know. I'm so torn on it all. I'm stuck in the middle. Yeah, go give him the quote about Vogel's situation.
Basically, it's just that Chris Haynes had reported right after the game that Frank Vogel was very, very vocal about wanting a point guard on the team, and he was told by the front office that a point guard on the team would take the ball out of players' hands too often, out of the main guys in KD and Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. So go into it. How do you feel about that?
It's such a elementary style of basketball thinking. With those three guys could conceivably play together. They play they all play the exact same style and way. So I get why you're like, hey, let's not throw somebody else in the mix that needs the ball in their hand. But your point guard doesn't have to dominate the ball. It's just somebody that when a team like the Timberwolves are applying pressure, you have other ball handlers you can go to. If they're trying to trap or they're just like up being more aggressive, and somebody that like has a great basketball IQ that can get other guys in their space, like LeBron. That's his like greatest gift at this stage in his career, is just knowing where everybody is supposed to be. And you need somebody that at least has some semblance of that. And throughout Booker, Durant, and Beal's careers, that hasn't been the role they're tasked with. They're supposed to know what I'm supposed to do, and everybody else is just supposed to get out of my fucking way because I'm just going to go to work. And you need some guys that aren't built like that, and we didn't have it all season. So I feel bad for Vogel because he obviously knows. Like in 2020 when he won a championship, he has Rajon Rondo and LeBron James. Like he has minds on the court. And the defense, credit to him, the defense did improve over the season, just if you're looking at the numbers. I don't know if visually I felt that much different. So I feel him on that. But when you just lose the locker room like this, you're kind of screwed. When guys aren't like, how do we have that start against the Clippers in that Clippers game? And the idea, I think there was a quote out there about he lost the team after that Clippers game, right?
Yeah, let me read it out for us real quick. April 9th, Shams reported that Vogel lost the locker room after the Clippers went on a 35-4 run when he was screaming and getting into guys that could be heard outside the locker room. But the reception was a bunch of eye-rolling from players, with one anonymous player stating that he was holding back laughter as he felt the speech was not genuine and seemed forced.
Okay, so there are two sides of that. Either these players are just actually shitheads and are like, no, I'm not going to get fucking yelled at. I'm making $50 million. Yeah. Or, which I have seen, like some coaches screaming and stomping does not get through. Frank Vogel has to know who he is. And if you haven't screamed and yelled all season and now you're just trying to break it out, like it's far too late for that. You can't. Yeah. I always said in school, this is like my philosophy on teachers. If you like the teacher on day one, you are not going to like them on day 180. And it's the whole opposite. If the teacher you don't fuck with on day one, that is like, hey, we're doing these lessons, we're going to be like structured, blah, blah, blah. You like them at the end because it's easy to go from strict to easy. You can't go from easy to strict. You can't make that jump. And I think that might have been Vogel's Achilles heel here. It was just his approach from day one and how it wasn't the leadership that we needed. And that does come down to him. If a team does come out and score 37-4, whatever the fuck it was, that is on the coach. Because why aren't these guys ready? And Booker had multiple other quotes saying that they weren't prepared for the series. They weren't prepared for these matchups. Is that on the coaching staff? Is it on the players? There just clearly is a disconnect between the two sides, and it's both sides' fault. You need two to tango. Two people, you have to both be willing to work together, and we clearly weren't.
And that's what it's come down to. I think you said it perfectly, a disconnect. And we've talked about it all year about what actually is the job of a coach. And I think at the end of the day, me and you both agree on that it's managing egos and managing that relationship between your star players and making sure your star players are, trickle down economics on them, but making sure it's trickling down to the other players and that they're the actual head of the snake. In the NBA, you need those guys to step up and be that vocal player. And maybe that does go into the whole wanting a point guard from Vogel, because as you said, Rajon Rondo and LeBron James on that Lakers 2020 championship team, they're very vocal leaders and they're very prevalent in seeing the game out on the floor. I mean,
and scouting
could you imagine?
The game.
And scouting the game, absolutely. Could you imagine if we had 37-year-old Mike Conley on this team? How many more games do we win?
Oh, we're a 56 game. We're a 56 win team, because there were so many times where shit just collapses in the fourth because we go on a string of bad possession after bad possession. You need somebody to grab it and be like, "Yo, what the fuck is it? Slow down, go! Everybody, get the fuck down there. I'll tell you when we start."
Yeah, no, 100%. And I just couldn't stop thinking about that watching throughout the series. Mike Conley playing such an integral role in that team. And going back to what you said about Ant being the leader, Mike Conley is that excellent secondary old head leader that's, not the top end talent on the team, but that guy that's able to fire
he's like
up
Anthony Edwards' advisor. It's like in the plan, that's never mind. In movies, there'll always be like the main guy that's like kind of the young badass, but then he has like the old advisor who's the only one that ever tells him to shut the fuck up. That's what we have. That's the situation that we have there, and it's just perfect.
From Avatar, what's the name? You watched that? Not the live.
He's Uncle Iroh. Uncle
Iroh
and Zuko. That's the perfect. That's what I couldn't. It was on the tip of my tongue. I couldn't remember it. That's the one.
No, real spill. Transitioning back over to like the Suns players as a whole, what were your feelings on Grayson Allen? Because for me personally, I was very disappointed. I mean, even before his ankle injury, I know he did suffer that. He kind of already had that stigma around his name while he was on the Bucks of being like a down bad playoff performer almost. And it kind of looked like it in his limited minutes. I mean, in that game one, I know I had texted you that Grayson Allen looked scared to shoot the ball just in general. What were your feelings on that? Do you think it's going to transfer over? Is he still going to be on the team, or should we save that for later?
He has to. He has to still be on the team. He's one person that I'm like comfortable bringing back based on what he did in the regular season. You do it. It sucks because of the injury, and he was already, even the games that he did play in this series. Like, I'm not going to totally hammer him for his, what was it, three points a game basically in his two appearances, because he was already kind of limping into the off season, the postseason. But a big factor in the series was him being not at 100%, because that's just, you're losing 13 points a game that way.
Hey, Royce O'Neal, step up. Come on, be Grayson Allen.
Exactly. So that definitely hurt us, but in the two games we had him, we still couldn't get it done. And you got to bring him back, though.
Okay, I hear you. And then last player I want to talk about before we get into some of the last quote that I want to talk about. How did you feel about Jusuf Nurkic's performance out there in that series?
He honestly could have just not been on the floor. It was one of those games where you're just like, is Nurkic out here? I don't know if you felt the same way. In game 4, he started it. They were force feeding him at the jump, and I'm a big proponent of that. First 3 possessions of the game, you have to get your big man open at the rim, because then he'll do all the other bullshit that you need him to do. Because he's like, okay, I already got my buckets. We're good. And no, Nurk just kind of disappears. He's a middle of the pack center, and he played like a middle of the pack center. And I thought Eubanks outplayed him this series. I thought Eubanks was just better for us. We had a better plus minus when he was on the floor. Whatever you want to do about that. It was. But where's he going? He's coming back next year.
And obviously he's not known for his crazy defensive prowess, but I mean, he made Rudy Gobert look like a goddamn offensive all-star out there at multiple points throughout the game. I know we had some lucky shit like that turnaround jumper bank floater that Rudy had, but shit, man. I mean, we got to be able to step up and make sure he's not just completely dominating us. I was also disappointed with some of the defensive rotations that we're having this late in the season. There was a lot of mismatches, a lot of just guys rolling to the rim as wide open as can be. And even with that late help, the Timberwolves are good at playing as a collective unit. And so it's just that easy dump off. After the guy helps one time, it's an easy read. Comes and helps, dumps it off. Wasn't impressed with that at all. Is there anything that you want to talk about specifically? I'm going to ask you something about the KD quote. Is there anything you want to talk about though? Before
No, I'm ready for KD.
Yeah. So Shams, another report. I think it was the first one that came out probably 20 minutes after the game. It felt like. Shams also reports that KD felt uncomfortable in his role on the team and felt relegated to the corner way too often throughout the year. Thoughts?
That's just not true.
It's not true.
I don't think it's true. We did not run. Somebody pulled up. I should have had this number ready, but I looked at it before. But we are not like a high pick and roll team.
Yeah.
So the tweet had said that we were 27th. I'm just going to fact check it in terms of our pick and roll possessions. But all right, play type. Here we go.
Yeah, no. That's ridiculous. Like you said, yeah, and part of the quote that I missed right there was he's saying that we play in a too heavy pick and roll system, and
yes,
that's just not his style.
in pick and roll frequency, we are fourth from the bottom. We've run pick and roll the fourth least amount of times in the league, so that's just factually incorrect. KD got a ton of touches. If you look at his shots per game in the regular season, got it down here. He's taking 19. You're taking 19 shots a game, brother. And you were playing awesome, and you had an awesome season. You're going to be you might be first team All NBA. People were talking about him as a first team All NBA guy. He wasn't relegated to the corner. I just think that quote is very inaccurate of what's actually happened. Because if he is going to be pissed about his role and the way the offense ran, it should be that things just dwindle down into staring at somebody at half court and no movement. Like, this was not the Golden State Warriors offense where it's passing and screening and everyone's all over the place. It just was not that at all.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that's just completely inaccurate as well.
If he said relegated to the corner on isolations, that's correct. And maybe that's what he means, because maybe our pick and roll frequency. This is a little theory of mine. It probably only counts it when you set a good screen, and we have a lot of just run and just like drift by somebody. We don't set a whole lot of screens, like real bone jarring. So maybe KD's got a little bit of a point, but it's still frustrating to hear that come out 6 hours after the game, whenever it is.
Yeah, and just like I said, not to keep harping on it, but it is something that's very, very important. I think when you do have a point guard, it makes it easier to play the flow style that KD likes, where he's coming off of off-ball screens and catching the ball at the little mid-range area and either hitting it straight off of the catch and shoot or a one-dribble pull-up. I think it makes it a lot easier when you have a point guard of the team. So,
absolutely.
I don't know. Absolutely disgusting. Do we want to talk about where it all went wrong, TJ?
I want
to talk about it?
Yes, I do. I want to hear where your theory is on when it all went wrong. I want to hear your tipping moment.
All right, so I'm going to start early. This is not my exact tipping moment right here. I'll be honest with you. But I think it starts, the domino effect starts on February 9th, 2023. One of the best nights of my life, it felt like at that moment. Getting that notification on my phone, spam calling you, even though you were asleep by that time.
LeBron had just set the all-time scoring record. It was a big night for basketball, and then I wake up to the news. But continue.
Yes. I was there spam calling TJ. He's already asleep at this point. We traded for Kevin Durant. And, trading for Mikal and Cam is a very hard thing to do, obviously. I won't be silly and forget how everything was in the moment. You know what I'm saying? I think we trade for Kevin Durant. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I still stand on that. You got to remember the feelings and emotions that we're going through. I mean, we went out sad against Dallas that playoffs the year before and felt very much so that we couldn't get over that hump, right? And we could never really rely on Chris Paul to not get injured in the playoffs, so at least needed to add that one superstar ceiling raiser player right there. And so we had to make the move. And when Kevin Durant's on the table, it's hard not to take that bait. So we go through the playoffs, beat the injured Clippers, take the Nuggets to 6, kind of get smacked in the face still, even though we do take them the furthest. And we go into the offseason where I think the real detriment is, and I don't think I'm alone here. June 26, 2023 is when it was truly over for this Phoenix Suns team. The Phoenix Suns trade away Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, and all of their second-round picks damn near for Bradley Beal. Now, I do remember this time feeling like we needed to get CP3 off the team, and we got that new owner syndrome. But hindsight, TJ, am I wrong in saying that it would have been much better if we would have kept CP3 a part of the team until maybe the trade deadline, do some, Knicks, how they did for OG Anunoby? I know he's not the same level, but to go ahead and get a replacement at that point guard position, do you think that's a bad thing to look back on?
No, I mean, I don't want to be in total, like, hindsight's 2020 mode, but I do think when the KD trade happened, I didn't like giving up Mikal and Cam. I thought we should have held our ground on just one of those guys, just for one. I'm thrilled that we got Kevin Durant like that. I bought a jersey the same day, like it was the best day of my son's life. But the Bradley Beal trade, you remember talking to me about it. I was firmly against it because of all the issues that we saw take place eventually. And I think there could have been something better for Chris Paul. There had to have been something else out there. I know he was the worst contract in the league at the time, it felt. But even he got traded twice. Like even the Warriors moved him, right? Or the Wizards moved him after we set him. And so there could have been something. I thought we could have broken apart his contract in some sense and just piece it together with more like role guys, but that are like upper echelon role guys that are making like 10 to 15, right? Instead of ending up signing a bunch of minimum vet guys. So
$800,000 a year.
Exactly. So it goes. So you're right that's where it goes wrong. And it sounds like from what we've heard, I have another quote locked and loaded. It sounds like that comes down to Ishbia, and he was the one that really pulled those triggers on that deal. I'll give you the quote here, but it's this is an inside source in the Suns. It's like Looney Tunes around here. It's felt unstable since Ishbia arrived. He's a good guy and everything, I think, but he's just very involved. Too involved. I know he played basketball at Michigan State, but I'd venture to say he has no idea what he's doing when it comes to basketball, yet he's making a lot of the big decisions. Sounds like a guy, new owner, way too involved, thinks he knows everything. Really competitive guy, but you need to let the basketball people do the basketball side of things. There was a reason James Jones wasn't getting that deal done for KD, and there's a reason that he probably wouldn't have done that deal for Beal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think you're right. And, going into the season, I mean, if you want to reflect back a little bit, I think me and you, I would say we're relatively high on Matt Ishbia before the Bradley Beal trade. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we both, rightfully so. It's way better than going through the Sarver era, specifically for, the reports of just what kind of work environment it was. But that quote doesn't, everything's felt unstable in the office as of late with him, that's not good. If he's berating people too, did we actually win? Is he actually better? I know he revamped the Ring of Honor, bring Amari and Sean Marion back. That's all awesome. But we also have to have, we've said it before, it's a what have you done for me lately world. Hey, we're already past getting rid of Sarver. You've been the owner for a year. And we just had the most disappointing season in a very long time. Yeah, 100%.
We saw that quote on ESPN talking about if the Suns failed this offseason and losing the first round. Do you agree with the statement that this is the most disappointing work from a front office in the last 20 years?
It has to be because of just the hype and excitement and the size of the contracts, the publicity of the deals, the way we were all talking. We fed into all that same shit. But we're supposed to. We're fans of the goddamn team. We're not supposed to be excited when we're landing all-stars.
Yeah.
But you have the itch in your back of your mind, damn, these guys all kind of play the same. KD's 36. Beal is over the hill for sure. It's rough. And
it's looking like Beal is relegated to a role player. It feels like I know that term gets thrown around too much in terms of role play. Everybody's a role player at the end of the day, but a real role.
He's
player.
a go stand in the corner guy.
Yeah,
that's how I was feeling. I don't want him trying to break anybody down. Get the fuck out of here, man. But that's his thing. It's not like Westbrook, where Westbrook has surprisingly aged kind of gracefully into his new role, because now he's basically just goes in like a Tasmanian devil and injects energy into whatever situation. It's going to get rebounds, assists, dunks. He's going to take some bad shots, but who cares at a certain point when he's getting his 25 minutes? And Beal just doesn't do any of those things. He didn't do those when he was at his best of his abilities. He's not going to do them when he's at the worst.
No, 1,000%. And I think that goes into it. I mean, mentioning Westbrook as a whole, we don't have any energy injection guys whatsoever on this roster. I think that's a huge part of it. Going back to the conversation of having an adult in the room, it's just something that we really, really would like to see change on this team as a whole in this offseason. If we do decide to run it back, which we'll get to. Let me get back on the timeline, though. September 27th, 2023. We trade DeAndre Ayton and Tamari Camara in exchange for Yusuf Nurkic and Grayson Allen. Now, TJ, considering what we did with Bradley Beal, not the worst idea in the world. I didn't love how Nurkic performed in these playoffs, I'll be honest with you, but I'm still taking him over Ayton any day of the week. Nobody can convince me otherwise. I'm not mad at this trade at all. Do you agree with that sentiment, or do you think there's something else could have been different?
Yeah, plus Grayson, too. I think that's good. We've gone back. We always were talking about the Buddy Hield, Miles Turner trade that maybe existed. Potentially that's better, but I'm totally with how Grayson played this year, and considering that Buddy Hield has kind of just like been sent to the bench with the Sixers now. I think that was we were thrilled at the time, and I think it was a good trade.
All right, and then hopping into it, the regular season. Injuries piled on our boy Bradley Beal, just out of the rotation for huge chunks of the season. Booker suffering some nicks and knacks. And this team just felt like they were held together by some fucking Elmer's glue, like the one you get in elementary school that has the orange top that you have to screw off. That's how it felt like this team was designed for a large chunk of this year. In and out of different lineups. We're just going through people. See, I mean, if you remember, I know a lot of people don't start watching basketball until post-football season, but do you remember all those guys that we had playing at the beginning of the year? Just all of those rotations. I mean, I know you're supposed to try to figure it out towards the beginning rather than the end, but
Chimezi Metu, Keita Bates-Diop, Yuta Watanabe.
Shout out.
It was crazy, and I'm looking at the games played, and you'd think, like, Nurkic has dealt with injuries his whole career. He played 76 games. KD played 75. It's one of the healthiest seasons of Kevin Durant's career. Booker, 60. We got games from most people, but then you got Beal at 53. One thing that's pissing me off here, too, is that Kogi played 60 games in the regular season and then is relegated to... he was actually the only guy that had a positive plus-minus in the playoff series, by the way. I know he only played one game, but he's the only guy that walked away winning his minutes.
Yeah, so where does the conversation go there with the Kogi? I mean, that's not the biggest piece or chunk that's going to decide whether we win a championship or not, but we saw that he did bring energy to that game. I mean, do we keep him on the team, or are you trying to get him in a more involved role in this upcoming year, or what are you thinking there?
So he's got it's a player. He has a player option for this upcoming year. He's after the not playing in those first 3 games, he's probably opting in. And then it's like, are we going to trade? There's not really any trade market for a guy that's making $3 million a year. So I am a big Okogie supporter. I think he should be a part of this roster. So he's another guy that like you kind of just have to keep at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And also, it looks Drew, for the matter of fact, Drew Eubanks has a player option too.
Yeah.
So how are they at right to say that Eubanks isn't coming back? Did he say he's not coming back?
Yeah, I think that's what the reports were saying, that he doesn't want to come back on the team.
Good for him.
Good for him.
You know that he was giving the Timberwolves problems too when Ant and Kat in their press conference were like, "Wait, Eubanks didn't play?" He was doing good for them. I don't know what the hell that's about.
That's crazy. I don't know if that's just purely trolling or like they genuinely felt that way, but man, that's crazy. Yeah, just completely put together team. We talked about it all throughout the year. Our ups and downs, a lot of downs. And I'm not just saying that as a guy who's living in the moment. We had tons of podcast episodes talking about just absolutely abysmal losses when things mattered the most. This Phoenix Suns consistently not coming through. And that was one of the things that sucked about going into that game 4. Obviously down 0-3, but this team has never showed us anything that proved that, like, we couldn't even be delusional enough, TJ, to be like, oh, can we be the first to do this? Can we be the first? There was never a thought in my goddamn brain that we were going to do something. After that game 3, it was completely over my brain. Phoenix fans that aren't super tapped into basketball were mad at me for being so nihilistic. But I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, glass half empty. This shit sucks. Yeah. It's not good. It's never happened. It's not going to happen with this squad.
Glass fully empty.
Yeah, glass fully empty.
We knew it wasn't coming. Yes. We knew it was not
knocked
happening.
Over.
And look at where we are now. Just
look where we are now.
First team eliminated from the playoffs. I know that the Pelicans got swept too, but it was the day after. So we were the first team, and it was just Monday was just a day of just the Suns getting shat on in the national media. And I don't blame them. Look at what we're doing right now. As they should.
As they should. Yeah.
So
speaking about that, I mean, where are we now, TJ? What's the plan for this year? I know I've been asked this question probably 9 times in real life, just people stopping me or texting me. What do the Suns do now? I wish I could give them a great answer. I have a theory. I know yours is a little bit harder than mine. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
I think the fucked up reality of this all is I think we're going to run it back with the same 4-3. And then we lose to the Nuggets in the 2025 playoffs. They're the number 1 seed. We're the 8th. We get smacked. Or maybe we finish in the play-in and get a spot there. Maybe we get knocked out. Who knows? And then I think we'll see an explosion of trades happen the year after, which is most likely going to fuck us over in terms of the value for everybody. They're going to be negotiations are just going to fall apart because they're like, well, I mean, I don't know. KD's pretty old at this point. His numbers were down this year. I mean, Booker, don't know about this guy. Can he really lead a team? I think we're only going to give you a few picks here or there. I think it's just going to be the most nasty. We're just going to have to go through this a whole nother year, doing a whole bunch of podcasts talking about how, hey, remember when we said that this team sucks and we still didn't get a point guard? I think it's going to be the same thing because we've talked about it before on the pod, but we cannot get a point guard. We just don't have the funds necessary to keep this core 3 together. So I want to hear what you have to say.
So we're due next year to pay KD $51 million, Beal $50 million, and Booker $50 million. The salary cap is $190 million, and so if you're quick maths, that's $150 million for those 3 guys. That a 3 that don't work together well enough. The offensive numbers in those lineups could be really good, but the games that they were healthy, it seemed like the games that they were the healthiest were against just like our shittiest part of the schedule. Like those numbers weren't, they felt kind of phony to me as an observer. And quite frankly, Beal is untradeable. Nobody is taking on that money. There's nobody in a dire situation enough and with things that you would want in return. Like maybe the Pistons would do us a solid, but we would have to add on. Like they would need to get extra value because Beal's the bad contract in this. He's not an asset. He's a liability.
Yes. Can't
do anything with him. KD, $51 million, 36 years old. He's going to get traded again at this point in his career? Again? It's gonna. I don't know if that's ready. And that's only gonna happen if he demands a trade, right? That leaves us with one guy with real tangible value in the NBA, and that's Devin Booker. As you just said, if we run this back, we are going to end up in the same position, if not a worse position. Because the free agents aren't out there to retool this roster and find something that fits. There's no solid point guards available. There's no way you're getting a point guard without moving some money around. That's where it comes to you sell at near the peak of Devin Booker's value. And I say this summer they need to, I'm not saying they need to trade him. I'm not even necessarily saying they should, but they need to see what's out there. They have to get on the phone and started talking about trying to make a Beal deal. And I go, okay, well, what would you actually do for Booker? And test the value. And you see how many picks is Philadelphia willing to give you? Are the Thunder, they just have a stockpile of picks. They have cap space. Some people have mentioned a KD homecoming in Oklahoma City. You get like Case and Wallace. You're not getting any of their core, but you can get some picks. And they have picks from all over the league. So you could get some really like high quality ones. That's when you have to have those conversations and see who's gonna go through with trying to bring one of these guys in, and that's quite literally where we're at. Because Nurkic, he's on the books until 25-26. Another thing with KD, if they trade him in this upcoming season, like midway through or I guess before the season, he only has 2 years left on his deal. Right? So you're not the person that you're trading him to is like, wait, we're only going to get this guy and he can just leave immediately again anyway? Like the guy that has the worst track record of just leaving places? Yeah. So that's where it comes down to just finding a spot for Booker, I think. Or if you are just content to run it back and try to piece together some pieces. But Nurkic is on the books for 2 years. Grayson's on the books for 3. Nasir Little, we're paying him $6.7 million next year and he can't even get run in the playoffs? Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
What else do you do?
I didn't want it to resort to that. No, I hear you, and the only things that I could even scramble up, and this was a lot. Like you said, I don't think it's realistic. The only retool process that we could do if we want to still build around Devin Booker, like you said, it's probably not going to happen just because of the politics of the league, not wanting to have that label as the team that traded Kevin Durant. But if the Hawks wanted to, we could get DeJounte Murray and Clint Capella in a pick for Kevin Durant. Is that enough to run with Devin Booker and the rest of the squad right here? Is that really feasible? I mean, you get an athletic center in Clint Capella. I know he's a little bit older. You get a real point guard in DeJounte Murray. What are we rating that right there?
Oh,
it does go through in the trade machine.
I wouldn't mind it necessarily. I love DeJounte Murray, and then if KD's in Atlanta, I just can see him a hell of a lot more, which is a good part for me. But you have to be realistic. DeJounte Murray, Bradley Beal, and Booker aren't winning you a title either. So it may be a better shot at a title, but that's also, we need some other pieces. Clint Capella would be a great upgrade. Is he going to start over We're going to bring Nurkic off the bench? How is that going to go? I don't think it would realistically get done, but I pulled up the Fanspo trade machine, and it has like the trending players being traded. Yeah. Number 1 is KD, number 4 is Booker, and number 6 is Beal. And the other 3 guys in the mix are all Lakers: D'Lo, Rui, and Gabe Vincent. So that's who's hopping on the trade machine right now.
It's fucked. It's so fucked, bro. That's awful. I mean, like, I don't even know where else, like, what specific trades we could do. I mean, like, you heard, and I take it with a grain of salt. It sucks that he's broken news before, so you have to take what he says, which is like the tiniest grain of salt. But Stephen A. saying the Booker to New York thing, I don't think that's feasible. And even going through like the trade machine, it was difficult to make it happen. But like Booker to the Knicks for Randall and a like filler and a bunch of picks would happen. But that would also consist of getting rid of KD and just going complete blow up mode, obviously. But I just don't know. Like, these guys definitely have value, I think. I think even, like, I was trying to make it happen. I like the idea of getting Kuminga, if you want to do that homecoming in the opposite way with sending KD to the Warriors. I mean, getting Kuminga and a bunch of people. But it's still hard to make it happen. It'd have to be like a 3-teamer.
Yeah.
And so I just don't know.
I think realistically we run it back. That's what we're going to do. These 3 guys are going to be on the roster. We're gonna scramble for some free agent minimum guys. I mean, let's do the exercise. Let's look at the free agent list.
Oh no, I hate looking at the free agent list. It makes me more sad. It makes me more sad, to be honest with you.
2024 NBA free agents. So LeBron is going to be a free agent.
LeBron will be a free agent.
Hey, LeBron, we'll draft your kid. Just sign the minimum. Let's go get it.
We will.
Let's go get it.
Pick. We got you.
Tell us what to. Fucking player coach. Let's go. Let's fucking go. So that's plan A. We're going to get LeBron. That's plan 1. Paul George, impossible. I shouldn't even read these names. This is a waste of time. I should sort this by, like, the opposite. By the lowest contracts. Like, Sadiq Bey is going to be a free agent.
Oh, boy.
Pat Bev.
Unironically.
I know. That might not be bad. That might not be the worst.
Unironically. You might get Patrick Beverley on this team.
Justin Holiday.
I don't hate that.
Maxi's going to be a restricted free agent. He's going to get the absolute maximum money, and Philly's going to match it. Sure. Josh Richardson. Run it back campaign. Bring it home. When you look down at the guys making $3 million, there's a reason those point guards are making $3 million. It's because they're not any fucking good. Let's go to position specifically. Point guard, Kyle Lowry, Lonzo, D'Lo, Markelle Fultz, Tyus Jones, Monty Morris. We can't even afford Monty Morris. He's going to get like $10 million plus.
Lonzo Ball, take the risk on him, TJ. We're getting Lonzo Ball.
Westbrook
back to the same roster.
Westbrook's opts out of his player option.
I like Westbrook now. I don't want to hate him again. I don't want to hate Russell Westbrook again.
Yeah, that would make me hate him again.
Dennis Smith Jr.
Dennis Smith Jr. Huh? Anybody?
No.
Aaron Holiday, I wouldn't hate.
I wouldn't hate either, but like it's just our aspirations and our contracts is
Hold up.
Hey, let's win a championship.
Chris Dunn, Yeah, Mr. Villanova game-winning shot. He's 30
outta
now.
here.
That's how long
Wow.
ago that Villanova shot was. He's 30.
We're old, bro. We're old. But I think we're winding down right here to the end of the podcast.
Ty Washington, the Arizona kid. Let's go.
I played against Ty so much. This is ridiculous. I think I'm good. I think I'm good on Ty Washington. Appreciate the love. Actually, fuck it. Sign him. Hey,
Yeah.
Ty, hop on the team.
Yeah, honestly. If we could
Get
get all
give Saban Lee love.
Yeah. Quick, like a side tangent, the Arizona team would actually not be terrible right now.
All Arizona team?
All the Arizona products. Jalen Williams, all that good stuff.
That would be awesome.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. That. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode of the Bright Now podcast. Thank you for tuning into this. If this is you guys' first episode, you guys are awesome. Like I said.
Some first episode if it is.
Yes. Yeah. What a crazy first episode. I think a lot of people will be tapped in just because all this shit happened. I'm going to mass post it everywhere. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. See, I'm so disgruntled. I don't even know the proper outro. I love you guys. Thanks for keeping us up. Thanks for sticking with us throughout the season. We're not ending. We're still going to be talking about the rest of the playoffs throughout this year. But man, it's over for the Suns. If there's any new developments, they'll definitely hit on those at the top of the episodes. But other than that, y'all have a phenomenal rest of your day.